Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 24th of August and we are going to deal with only one topic today which is in news that is extremely important. That is Prime Minister's visit to Ukraine. The Indian Prime Minister has visited Ukraine in his two-nation visit, that is Poland and Ukraine. Interestingly, last month the Indian Prime Minister visited Russia. Now this message is loud and clear that India is friends with all. Means India is a Vishwamitra. India stands by peace. And as this slogan, or I would say the quote stated by the Indian Prime Minister there in Ukraine, that India was never neutral in this war, India was always on the side of peace. Means India is advocating peace right from the very beginning. The Indian Prime Minister believes that dialogue and diplomacy are the only ways to resolve such conflicts. These conflicts cannot be resolved on battlefields. Second, the Prime Minister of India has also stated clearly that territorial integrity and sovereignty are the two things which India respects and wants each and every country to respect. So, with this, let's start this particular visit and let's see how things are. Now, you can see the photo and and try to feel the hug or the warmth over there in this particular hug. Now, when the Indian Prime Minister visited, there was a very warm reception from the Ukrainian officials, including the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. The Indian Prime Minister was made to watch certain videos which were made, of those children who lost their lives in this war, innocent children. And obviously, any human being definitely would, be melted or be I would say disturbed by seeing these kind of visuals and laying tributes to them, those children who lost their lives. The Prime Minister Modi also prayed that may God give strength to their parents, because it is very disheartening for any parent to lose their kid. So on August 23, 2024, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Ukraine at the invitation of President Volodymyr Zelensky. This visit marked the very first time an Indian Prime Minister has travelled to Ukraine since diplomatic relations were established in 1992. Before 1992, Ukraine and India, no diplomatic relations. Actually, Ukraine was part of the erstwhile USSR. It was a republic in USSR, so India and USSR had diplomatic relations. But in 1991-92, due to the disintegration of USSR, the 15 republics which were part of it became 15 independent countries, and these 15 independent countries then established diplomatic relations with other countries, and so did India establish diplomatic relations with Ukraine in 1992. When I look out the background of the relations, India was one of the first countries to recognize Ukraine as a country. Government of India recognized the Republic of Ukraine as a sovereign country in December 1991 and established diplomatic relations in January 1992. Embassy of India in Kyiv was opened in May 1992. Ukraine opened its mission in Delhi in February 1993, and that was the first, I would say, diplomatic mission of Ukraine in any country in Asia. So, this is the background. Now, when the two leaders met, multiple agreements were discussed. First was the agreement on cooperation in agriculture and food industry. See, Ukraine is a major producer of agricultural products and it exports agricultural products to many countries in the world. Expands cooperation in agriculture and food industry, including promoting information exchange, joint scientific research and creating joint working groups. Then an MOU on medical products regulation was also signed. Enhances cooperation on medical products with a focus on regulation, safety and quality, includes information exchange, capacity building, workshops and training. A lot of pharma manufacturing happens in India. So that was there, and from here in India, after getting manufactured, pharmaceuticals get exported also. Memorandum of Understanding on Indian Humanitarian Grant Assistance establishes a framework for India to provide grant assistance for community development projects in Ukraine in partnership with the Ukrainian government. Obviously, Ukraine's economy has been impacted. There has been a lot of destruction due to the war and all. So, this humanitarian assistance, grant assistance will help in that. And finally, the program of cultural cooperation 2024 to 2028. It strengthens cultural ties between India and Ukraine, including promoting cultural exchanges and cooperation in theatre, music, fine arts, literature and cultural heritage protection. there is a recent trend which has been seen that more and more Ukrainian students are learning to speak Indian languages like Hindi. They are more and more showing interest in Bollywood. Bollywood definitely is getting popularity over there in Russia as well as in Ukraine. Then one of the most important things which this visit brought was the Bishma Cubes. Bishma Cubes are basically makeshift hospitals. Even an operation theatre can be there in the Bishma Cubes, and India gifted these Bishma Cubes to Ukraine. So it was a gift to Ukraine from India because it is a war-torn country and these kind of makeshift hospitals definitely can be helpful for them. India handed over 10 Bishma Cubes to Ukraine. These are portable medical facilities designed for trauma care containing 22 tons of medical support equipment and 10 generator sets. So that obviously it will run on electricity and all equipments. So all these were handed over. Other recipients of Bishma Cubes have also been countries like Sri Lanka and Myanmar for emergency medical support. Now about Bishma Cubes, they are portable hospitals and easy to use mobile medical facility that can be swiftly deployed to save lives in the most challenging circumstances. It can provide critical medical care to 100 survivors for up to 48 hours, making it a lifeline on remote and tough terrains where immediate medical attention is needed. So that is what was needed, and this is how it looks like. These are portable, I would say, hospitals. Even operation theatre is there in these kind of portable hospitals. So this was a gift from India to Ukraine because Ukraine presently, since it is war-torn, so it is in need of such kind of equipments. Then other areas of discussion. Peace and conflict resolution, obviously this was on the cards. This was, I would say, one of the major topics which was or which had to be discussed because it has been more than 2.5 years now. This war has impacted Ukraine the most and other countries of the world also. So peace stance, PM Modi reiterated India's firm stance for peace in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. He emphasized that India was not neutral and supported dialogue and diplomacy for conflict resolution. He said that India was not neutral, India was always on the side of peace. Tributes, PM Modi paid homage to the victims of the conflict, particularly children, by placing a doll at a memorial and participating in a tribute ceremony at the Martyrologist exposition. Diplomatic and economic discussions. When we talk about trade and defense, discussions between PM Modi and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky focused on enhancing trade, economic and defense ties. When we talk about energy purchases, PM Modi and Zelensky also discussed India's recent energy purchases from Russia and its impact on the global market. Actually, there is another viewpoint over here when I talk about India purchasing oil from Russia. A logic which I recently heard from Mr. S. Shankar only, and that is quite logical. That if India does not purchases oil from Russia and it purchases oil from the West Asian countries where these most of European countries are purchasing from. So it will further lead to the elevation of oil prices because demand from those countries will highly rise, and India is one of the largest importer of oil in the world. And when one of the largest importer of oil is stopping taking oil from one country and starting taking oil from other countries, definitely demand of oil in those countries will increase from where India will be going to take. That will further increase the price of oil. So India is in a way helping the oil prices to be stable by taking oil from Russia. So this also needs to be understood. Cultural and educational ties. When I talk about cultural exchange, PM Modi interacted with Ukrainian students studying Hindi, highlighting the cultural connection between the two nations, as I mentioned earlier. Prime Minister Modi extended an invitation to President Zelensky to visit India, aiming to further strengthen bilateral relations between the countries. Some symbolic gestures if I talk about, a tribute was paid to Mahatma Gandhi. PM Modi paid floral tribute to Mahatma Gandhi's statue in Kyiv, emphasizing Gandhi's message of peace. Ukrainian memorials, PM Modi and Zelensky honored the memory of children lost in the conflict and at the Martyrologist exposition, we saw that. Upcoming engagements, high-level meetings. The visit includes meetings with high-level Ukrainian officials and discussions on enhancing trade and defense cooperation between the countries. Public engagements, PM Modi is scheduled to meet with Indian diaspora and attend various cultural events over there. And he met again. This is basically when a public figure like the Prime Minister of India is going on foreign lands and meeting with the members of the general public over there. This type of diplomacy is called as retail diplomacy. So Prime Minister Modi believes in this style of retail diplomacy. Significant of the visit, strengthening ties. This visit is expected to enhance India-Ukraine relations since it was the first ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Ukraine, and this visit is going to enhance ties across multiple sectors. When we talk about global impact, the focus on peace and humanitarian support reflects India's commitment to global stability and diplomatic engagements in conflict resolution. So definitely India projects itself as a Vishwamitra and definitely has been advocating peace. The Prime Minister is of this viewpoint that I am from the land of Buddha, I am from the land of Gandhi, and all of them have advocated for peace, and we want to take forward that legacy. It does not mean that India is mediating between Ukraine and Russia. It simply means that India is advocating for peace, and he has clearly said that if needed, personally, I will, want to contribute in these peace efforts. So this is what it is, and the entire world, particularly the developing and underdeveloped countries, have been impacted due to this war. 3 F's, they have been negatively impacted: fertilizer, fuel and food. All their prices have gone up, the 3 F's. And this 3 F's basically are impacting the underdeveloped and developing countries more as compared to the developed countries. Developed countries can or have that capacity of bearing those losses, but the developing and underdeveloped countries do not have. So in a way, India is becoming the voice of those people also in this particular conflict, that please, everyone is suffering. So it is like this. India being projected as a friend of all, Vishwamitra, India calls itself. So this is basically the significance of this visit. Some important quotes which we need to understand. This quote: "We were not neutral from day one. We have taken a side and we stand firmly for peace." This is basically Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the Russia-Ukraine war. He has recently said it. This guy, our Honorable Minister of External Affairs, has given an official statement that this is a landmark visit. PM Modi's engagement covers humanitarian aid, trade, defense and cultural exchanges. This is something which is very common and understandable. But one more thing which happened yesterday, and that was very, I would say, amusing and good to hear, because he is known for shutting down or giving good responses to the Western media. And one such more incident happened yesterday. What happened? A BBC reporter asked him that last month when the Indian Prime Minister visited Russia and the Indian Prime Minister was meeting the Russian President with grace. So there were a lot of problems over here in Ukraine. People were not happy. So, he replied simply that it is in our culture that wherever we go, we meet people with grace. Last month, we went there, we met people with grace. Today, I could see the Indian Prime Minister meeting the Ukrainian President with grace. Did you see anything faltering over here, or anything lacking over here? So he said that I think there is a little bit of cultural gap between our culture and your culture. It might be not prevalent in your culture, meeting people with grace, but it is prevalent in our culture. So you need to catch up with our culture. So it was basically this thing that was replied by Mr. S. Jaishankar to that BBC reporter. And what a way to silence the West. Our culture was used by the Minister of External Affairs. Now the conclusion. Prime Minister Modi thanked President Zelensky. He invited him to India. This visit is very much significant because it has highlighted that India is not one-sided in this war. India is with all. India is standing with Russia, India is standing with Ukraine, and most importantly, India is standing for peace. The Prime Minister has also acknowledged that India respects territorial integrity and sovereignty. So does this mean that India is wanting Russia to vacate those I would say areas which Russia has undertaken from Ukraine, because it is Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty over those regions. Well, this has not been explicitly mentioned, but let's see how things unfold from this very important juncture in the Russia-Ukraine war with respect to India. And let's hope for a better world to live in, a peaceful world to live in, and let's hope that we have this as soon as possible. So with this I end, and now let's get into the MCQs. In which year did India and Ukraine establish diplomatic relations? 1956, 1957, 1958, or none of the above? Very simple, straightforward question it is. Recently a term Bhishma was in news. It refers to anti-missile missile developed by DRDO, a makeshift hospital, an unmanned aerial vehicle capable of bombings developed by HAL, or none of the above. What does 3 F's signify in the context of Russia-Ukraine war? Fuel, food, factories, fertilizers, fertilizers, food, fuel, or none of the above. And last question is, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. The visit to Ukraine by the Indian PM is the first in the history. The Indian PM paid homage to Jam Sahib, Digvijay Singh ji, Ranjit Singh ji Jadeja of Navanagar in Ukraine. Only one, only two, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. Simple questions, but yes, have to be attempted. MCQs of yesterday, that is 23rd of August. Which of these countries do not share a shoreline with the South China Sea? This question was there. Philippines does share, Vietnam does share, Malaysia does share. Laos actually is a landlocked country. It does not share shoreline with any ocean or any sea. So, this is basically the correct answer, option number C. Consider the following statements and mark the correct one. The South China Sea carries more than half of the global traffic. This statement is correct. India has invested in oil exploration in the South China Sea. Yes, with Petro Vietnam, we have done that. So, both the statements are true. ONGC Videsh Limited and Petro Vietnam. So, C is the correct answer. Consider the following statements with respect to Justice Hema Committee and mark the correct one. It is with respect to sexual harassment in the Kerala film industry. Yes. The report was submitted by the committee in 2020. Yes. It was published by the government in 2024. So, both these statements are correct, both 1 and 2. Fourth, who heads the local committee in the district to investigate into the cases of sexual harassment into workplace for persons working in the informal sector? So, informal sector, we know that local committee is there, but who is heading it? District judge? No. Superintendent of police? No. A woman judge in the district court? No. But the district magistrate heads that. So, D is going to be the correct answer. And last question is, which of the following statements are correct about the POSH Act, that is Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act 2013. An internal complaints committee should be formed in every organization in the formal sector. Yes, if it is not formed, the owner will be punished. Minimum half members of the ICC should be from outside of the company. No, minimum 1 member should be from the outside. Minimum half members should be women, and this committee should be headed by a woman which is employed at a senior level. So, this statement is wrong. An employer is duty bound to provide training to the employees. Yes, that is also true. So, 1 and 3 are the correct options. Hence, C is the correct option of this. Now, we have reached the end of this session. I will be seeing you on Monday now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.